So today we're going to be doing a continuation of my last video, which was on the Ali Abdaal style. So if you guys haven't seen that already, you're going to want to go check it out. I'll flash a little bit of it on the screen just so you know what I'm talking about. And the rest of you, let's get into it. So once you guys are in Davinci, we're just going to take off where we left off last time, which was with the text like this. We're just going to be transforming all that into a smaller box so it looks like this stuff on the left side with all the text below it as well. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is coming over to this initial big box that we made, the foreground box that we have on here, and we're just going to jump inside this rectangle mask and set some keyframes where it stops animating. So we're going to come to the first frame where it starts animating, which is just use your arrow keys to start getting there. It's about frame 151, and then we're going to make some keyframes here. And then we are going to go to the frame where it stops animating, which is about frame 178. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keyframe everything. And then we're just going to adjust the height. And we're going to adjust the width. Doesn't need to be perfect. I just want to show you guys what we're going to kind of be doing on your end. You guys might want to be doing a bit more tweaking to make it a bit more perfect. But for the sake of speed, we're going to keep things going. And then we're going to adjust the corner radius here, get it about what it is in this side. So that's pretty good. And now you can see there's a problem because we still have that black line and we still have all this text right here. So we're going to fix up the icons and text first. Just going to come in here and we're going to copy this rectangle mask. So we're going to hit Control C and then come down to the end where we have all the text, and we're going to hit Control V, paste this in here and link it to the blue on the merge, and do that for all these different text nodes. So as you can see, we still got a little bit of bleeding in here from this icon and its text. This is just because I didn't set it up small enough when I was doing this. But for when you guys are actually working on someone else's video or your own videos, you're probably going to want to make sure that all these things are perfect for the beginning. So that way you don't need to come in here doing all these little tweaks in the end. So I'm going to come over here to frame 178. We're going to stay on here and we're going to go over to the first of the merge nodes for these. And then we're just going to adjust the height on here so that way that icon and its text are completely off the screen. So now we got that in there. Now we need to actually animate this line off the screen. So we're going to come to where it is fully off the screen. So we'll find the first frame, which is right here on frame 169. So we're going to come in and find the line, which is right here. I'm just going to label it because we never did. F2 on the merge, and we'll do line merge. Okay, so now we're going to come into the polygon mask. We're just going to keyframe everything. You're also going to want to keyframe the position because we're going to be moving it off the screen in the opposite direction. So now that you got all that done, come back one keyframe. We are going to, or one frame, we're going to keyframe the border width here as well. And now we're going to come back to where it's fully on the screen. So frame 154, and we're just going to keyframe all those things again. And now we can go in and adjust everything. So we'll go to the border width keyframe, and we're just going to go to the last one, and we're going to make it 0. And then we can come into the last part, and we're also going to animate the position to 1, so that way it wipes off the screen like that. And now we can come in here and just take a look at everything. As you can see, it kind of just bleeds outside this box as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just copy this rectangle mask underneath our line as well. So then you won't be able to see it when it's outside the box. Okay, so perfect. So now you can come in here, you can go to the spline tab, you can select everything and zoom to fit, and then you can select your back keyframes with your selection just by clicking and dragging, and then you can hit S. Mine automatically smooths. I just have it set up that way. I thought I turned it off yesterday, but apparently it didn't. But just make sure you smooth it out with S, and then we can come back in here and start working on the next thing, which is going to be moving around all these different words and this icon, and also creating the text down below here. So I'm going to come over here and get everything in place for the text and this icon. So I'm just going to adjust the transform node here. So we're going to come back to yet again where it starts to animate. Frame 152, we're just going to start animating this. So we're going to keyframe the center and the size, and we're going to come over to frame 178, and we're going to keyframe it again. And now we just need to adjust everything so it's in the correct position. It's pretty much the same size as the beginning. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to steal the size from the beginning, which is 1. So we'll just make this 1, and then I will just readjust everything. We'll go based off the beginning position as well, see if that'll just fall into line easy for us. And voila, pretty good. Might just also need to keyframe the text in these positions so that way it's up a little bit more. So I'll come in here and I'm also going to keyframe the text. So I'll put a keyframe here and I'll put a keyframe on frame 152. So we'll just adjust that. We'll bring it up a little bit. And that looks pretty good right there. Now we'll make a copy of this. So we'll hit Control C, Control V. We'll connect this into the merge, and we'll move this stuff over so it's under our merge, and just save it up. And now we're going to type in this text. So we got, where are we trying to go? And we'll just make it also regular, and we'll bring it down so that way it's in about roughly this position right here. And we'll also make it gray. So I'm just going to copy it like we did in the beginning. Just quick and easy. Just go over to here, get an approximate spot on there, copy it, and I also need to start the fade for the text. So I'm going to come over to frame 168, it looks like, and we're just going to go into the shading, and we're going to keyframe it here to 0, and then we will come over to where it pops fully on the screen, which is maybe 178 or 179. We'll just do 178, and we'll just fully make that pop on. And now we're going to have something like this. So it looks pretty good. Just make sure that everything in the spline tab is nice and smooth. So we're just going to come in here, Control A and S, and that should smooth out our little slide animation. You can also come in here to the first text and do the same thing. So Control A and S. And now that should smooth everything out, make it look nice and good. Now we're going to come into the next part, which is getting the number 2 here. So what we're going to do is essentially the same thing. We're not going to recreate everything though. It's just going to be copy and paste. So what we're going to do is we are going to move a lot of this stuff over. So we'll just come over and move everything. Just pull it all over to the right. And then I'm going to even move it over more because we're going to also have a number 3 coming in pretty soon. And just keep sliding it over. That should be pretty good. So that's definitely more than enough room. And we can just copy this and then we can paste it in here and hold shift on the merge and bring it down and drop it. And then you can let go, shift and everything. So now we're going to get rid of this number and we're going to actually import a new SVG file. This will be down in the description for you guys. We're going to import our number 2 file. So I'm going to come over here to the assets and we're going to make this the same size as our other one, which is 150, and just hit enter. And we're going to drag this over to our set and connect this to our transform right there. And now we can just adjust the layout of everything like we had before. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to disable the merge for a second just so we can steal these colors. So I'm going to grab this and let me bring it up real quick actually. So make sure that this is that. Yep. Okay, we can disable it again. And I'm going to steal the background color of here. So come in here, take the background, also take the color of the number. So now that we got that, we can re-enable our merge. And now we have our number 2. So it looks like this drop shadow is destructing the outline here. Hopefully when we move it, it should be good, but we might have to just make it slightly smaller just for this. So now what we're going to come in and we're going to do is we are going to be adjusting the keyframes here. So I'm just going to create a placeholder value for these. So I'm going to make a keyframe on a later frame, and I'm just going to get rid of any other keyframes that we had on here. All right, so that should make things a lot easier to work with. And let's see if we need that second text or not. So we will be needing that second text, so I'll just leave that in there. We're going to be doing some adjusting of the different keyframes, but that's essentially all we really have to do other than animate this on the screen. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to come to where it is first off the screen, which is frame 205, I'll say. So we're going to set a keyframe here, and we can get rid of these placeholders now and just come back to 205. And we're going to come up to where it starts to settle on the screen, frame 232. So we will just click keyframe for both these. Now that we have both these keyframes set, we also need to grab in this gray box as well. So I need to go back to the foreground element, and I'm just going to copy this, and I'm actually going to paste this in into our nodes here as the background. So I'm going to actually just disconnect this part right here and bring in another merge and connect this to the background, connect this to the foreground, and we're just going to bring in this guy right here. We can actually get rid of this merge and just connect this stuff right here. So now we have this all connected with this box around it, and we can just come down to the transform node, and we can just adjust this to, and then we can come back to the first keyframe and just adjust it so it's off the screen. So that's pretty good. And now we can come to the final keyframe where it's going to settle and just bring it down to about something maybe right here, 0.185, just so there's enough space for the other one. We might have to readjust, we'll see. And then we can come in here to the spline tab and just hit Control A and S, smooth everything out. And now you got something like this. So ours doesn't come on quite as fast as this one. If you want to make yours come on a little bit faster, like Ali Abdaal's, you can come in here and select the keyframes of the transform. We'll just get rid of the size and hit Control A. And then you can hit T and just adjust this ease out value to 100%. That's going to make it come on a little bit quicker. So Ali's still comes on a little bit quicker. If you want yours to come on like his, you can play around with the keyframes that he's got in here. So you can come over to the spline, you can select everything besides the size and hit Control A and just adjust the values so that way you see what he has on the screen. So if we just do a little bit of easing in, you can get it to pretty much replicate what his does. So if we play it back, you can play around with it a little bit more to make it look exactly like his. So now that we got that in place, we actually forgot this little box right here. So I'm going to also add that into our pipeline here. Okay, so I was able to spot the issue. It actually is due to the fact that I accidentally made this first little rectangle the background and this the foreground. So we just need to come to our merge and hit Control T to swap the values, and now your rectangles should pop up on the screen. So now we got this one, and now we can just adjust the text in here. So we can come up, do a similar thing that we originally had with our text in the center. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to keyframe some different parts So we want to we're essentially just going to move our keyframes over. All right, so let's start it around frame 289. We'll come in here and we'll come to our text, and I'm just going to highlight these, and I'm just going to push them over so that way they start on around frame 289. That should probably be close enough. Let's see. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now we're going to need to come into text 2, and I just want to make sure I have the right words. So we're going to do where are we now? And for this top part, we got how to know what you want. And I'm going to have to adjust these so that way they're in line with each other. I didn't exactly do that with the first one, so we'll just make it look similar to the first one. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to the first, and I'm just going to move it over so it's about in line with my top text. And I'm going to copy this value over to the other keyframe. A couple different ways you could have done that. Also, you could also adjust the anchor point and have it anchored to the left. So it's all up to personal preference. And now we're going to do the same thing with this text. I'm going to move its first keyframe. Let me move it all into place. So we'll come over here. And now we got the where are we at now? And I will take the keyframes here, drop this down. We actually need to adjust these so that way this final keyframe is in place. So there you go. Now we got that in place. Now we can come in here and just adjust the X value like we did with the other one. So we'll come in here to the final keyframe and we'll just adjust it to, we'll just make it in line. It shouldn't look too different than the first one. Do the same thing here with all these other values. We'll go back to the first one. We'll do the same thing where we just missed. Whoops, wrong text. Copy that, paste it in here. All right, so we pretty much got everything. Also, one thing that he does when moving up this rectangle right here, he also has some motion blur. So this is something that I'd probably do in the end because your computer might want to explode, but it also makes the video look really good. So I'll give you an example on this second one. I'll come back over here and we will just go to settings and check this box for motion blur, and you can just amp up the quality as much as you want and just come back in here. You can look at it, see how it looks. It just provides a nice feel for the video. So like I said, I usually do that in the end of creating whatever I'm doing, so that way my computer doesn't need to work harder than it has to. But feel free to put it on anytime you guys want. And now we just have to work on the third one. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to copy the second text box. And we're just going to do the same thing with the third one here. So I'm going to drop this in here. Boom. Get rid of this. Bring in our third SVG file, number 3, and make it 150. And drag this over. It'd be nice if Fusion could implement a way where whatever place we're working in, the SVG file just comes to that spot, not have to go to the beginning of our comp again. But we got that connected. Now, what we need to do is we need to bring media out back into our viewer if you change that around. And now coming back to our number 3, we can just do the same thing with our colors. We can open this up, go to the background, grab the outline of this line, come into this background, grab the number, boom, X this out. And now we need to come to where number 3 is not on the screen. Frame 17, and we'll just set a keyframe. Honestly, around 417, we can come up to the keyframes on our transform, hit the down arrow, and we can just grab these and move them up to 417. And let's see where this puts us. Yeah, so it comes in at roughly around the same amount of keyframes. So it's pretty good. If you don't want to change anything, you can just leave it. And then we can just bring this box down to where we need it to sit. Ours is going to sit a little bit lower than Ali's. Just because I didn't really leave a whole lot of space to play around with. So I'll kind of get them around the approximate same length away from one another. And then we can close out this keyframe box. And now we got everything we need. We can change the text to 1 year plan to change your life. Looks like we might need to bring down the font a bit. So I'll come in here, highlight everything, and just tweak the font a little bit. And then we can also bring over the values for our opacity and when everything starts to move. Frame 479, frame 480, pretty much the same thing. And then we'll come in here and we will adjust the keyframes again. And we'll do the same thing with this text box. We'll grab onto the keyframes and we will just adjust it to how we need it. So let's see. So ours comes on at a slightly different time or slightly different speed. You just got to play around with the spline like I showed you a bit earlier for that to tweak that. But I'm going to start working on the text here. So it is, I'm just going to do the left align for this one to give you guys an example of that. And I'll come into the layout and I will adjust everything. But let me get the text in here first. How we are getting there. A boom arrow. B, I'm not as fancy as them. I don't have the nice arrows in there. I'm sure I could look up the shortcut for that, but we're just going to do this. And then we can just shift our text over to about where we need it to be, which is about right here. And then we can just copy this value to all the other keyframes so that way it stays the same. And now here is what we got. Don't mind this just taking a little while to pop up on screen. So we just need to adjust the text size and we are pretty much done. So come in here, go to the text one last time, and we'll just adjust the text size. Make it a little bit smaller. So yeah, that's how you guys do the Ali Abdaal style. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys slap that like and slap that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1K, then 10K, then 20K, then 50K. We're on a mission, you guys. We got to hit these goals. So I'm going to keep on producing gold for you guys. Make sure you guys check out my video on Magnates Media. I think it'll really resonate with you guys if you guys like this one. So go check that out. I'll link it somewhere up above or down below. And yeah.